Hey, what's up, guys? This is Church of Caboose, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. In this video, we're going to give Bungie some feedback about the Guardian Games 2021. If you guys agree or concur or dissent with anything in this video, let me know down below in the comment section, as well as like the video. I'm sure we're all a little bit tired of these games being how they are, so let's try and make this video be a little bit more popular, so that way maybe Bungie will try to actually listen to us. Also, make sure you guys subscribe to my channel, you sons of bitches. It's the right thing to do. The more interactions and subscriptions and things like that we get with this video, then it helps my channel out. It also helps this video to be reached to more people, which in turn might potentially help Bungie to maybe care. We did a thing with watercress on this channel, so let's try to do a thing with Guardian Games. So let's go ahead and get on into it. As y'all have noticed, hunters have been dominating this Guardian Games, and we are now learning. We've got two lessons so far from the past two games. We've got the first games in 2020 where we learned Titans have the best abilities, and this Guardian Game seems to be all about proving what class has the most players. Some things that were changed from the past was in the first year, 2020, we had a games where it was mostly about doing these different bounties, and really hunters couldn't be bothered to care because heaven forbid they have to do something that's not PvP, and they have to do things with smoke grenades, and that basically was the games, was who's going to farm the limited most number of medals. The idea was if there's only a certain cap on medals each person could do on that character each day, then you would find out who's at least the most dedicated class. And that ended up not necessarily being completely true, because you could just kind of do all three characters, and so folks ended up figuring out, hey, Titans, this stuff's a little bit easier on, so let's go ahead and switch to Titan. Fast forward to 2021, they did a couple of changes. You're in theory only supposed to be able to use one class that contributes to the games, and so folks are having to pick just the one that they're going to compete with, as well as unlimited medals. Medals drop from things like doing the core playlist. You get usually bronze for stuff like quick play and strikes and gambits, and then you get silver from things like survival, trials, and nightfalls, and then you can get some of these platinum medals, and it's unlimited. But what we ended up finding out is that a ton of people just prefer to play on Hunter. We already knew going into these games 38% of players were on Hunter, like 31 are on Titan, and then like upper 20s tend to be on Warlock. And there's also another thing we ended up kind of knowing in general, like if you ever play with folks, it's more common for someone to only have a Hunter or only have a Warlock than it is for someone to only have a Titan. Not to say that that's a permanent rule, it's just obviously we're having way more people on Hunter. And it's also more common for folks that do have all three characters to perhaps mostly do things like Crucible on their Hunter. I'll be honest, I have an easier time getting kills and wins on Hunter than I do on the other two classes, but I wanted to main my Titan, which I've been maining for years in the games, and that seems to be backfired. Folks kind of saw how the games are going to play out and decided in general, they're going to be on Hunter, because who doesn't want to have that shiny gold cloak? And I can't say I blame them. It's a pretty cool looking cloak. And that's what we're kind of learning the last 2 years of these Guardian games. So year one, it was all about Titans and their abilities. Year two, it's just clearly who has the higher player base. It's not even who's the most dedicated, who's like the best. It's just who has the better abilities, and then who plays on the games the most. So in past years, we've talked about stuff and ways to try and figure out things like who's actually the best class. If you guys are scrolling through Twitter much, by the way, follow me on Twitter, Church of Caboose. You might notice lots of folks talking about things like 3v3v3, where you get matched in with all Warlocks and all Hunters and all Titans, and maybe it's like Mayhem, and you're like in a Rumble kind of a thing with 6, but the Warlocks are on a team, the Hunters are on a team, and the Titans are on a team, and the theory would be like whoever wins the most total number of those kinds of games would end up being like the winner for the day. And you would have the same kind of a thing with Gambit. And then I haven't seen a whole lot of people spinning out ideas for strikes. That just seems a little bit tougher, but maybe it'd just be like whatever class completes the highest number of strikes for the day gets points or something like that. I'm not too sure how well this medal theory is working out, just because like people find ways to exploit things. I'm not aware too much of what it is this year, other than simply there's way more hunters doing activities, so they're just mathematically going to get medals at a number which no one else can compete with. Because when you get medals dropping for doing an activity, there's not really a way to make up for a difference in population, right? So if you got like in Crucible, say you got 5 hunters in the game and you got like 3 warlocks and 4 titans, I think the numbers there work out. The hunters are obviously going to have way more medals, not because they necessarily did any better, just because there's more of them. You all get the same number of points, right? When you complete a match, everyone gets a bronze medal, but if there's more hunters that are playing in that mode, then they're going to get automatically just be getting more and more points. And when there's more hunters, or of any class really in general, that class is going to get more and more points. So we're running into issues with the games where, once again, we already have people not caring. Last year kind of happened a little bit around the same time. People saw like folks are switching over to Titan. Bounties were just faster to do because people don't like doing bounties, and I don't blame them. So when it's faster to do bounties on a character, they're going to go with the path of least resistance and go to things like Titan. So Bungie tried to make an adjustment and say, hey, you can only pick one character, but then they made it where the medals drop from basically just doing the game, which I appreciate the attempt. I think we were kind of asking for that last year, but it didn't really matter. Like, in theory, whoever wins the day is supposed to get some kind of like a decrease in the number of points or something like that each medal counts for, and it clearly has not mattered because the hunters are still winning. So for things in the future, I think Bungie should really be looking at class versus class versus class things. Maybe get rid of the medal idea entirely, unless it's to be something like, say you got that Crucible idea throughout there earlier, the 3 hunters versus 3 warlocks versus 3 titans, or something like that. You could even have like a giant map specifically for Guardian games, have like 2 or 3 of them, and have it be 6v6v6 with like mayhem. I think that would be insane. It could backfire, but I think that'd be, at least for a little bit, pretty fun. So that, but the idea can maybe be whoever wins that game overall gets like a gold medal, second place gets silver, last place gets bronze, and you just turn those in, and that could maybe be a way to still have some medals so they can kind of keep some of that coding. But still have it be kind of like a balanced thing, right? Because then instead of a hunter or any class just having to participate, they get rewarded for participating, but they get more rewards for doing better. But of course, Bungie would have to figure out something about Shards of Galnor. Like if you do a Mayhem as a hunter, and you know, like Shards of Galnor is busted as hell because you constantly are supering, and the other classes just cannot keep up with that. So either Bungie would have to do something like everyone gets ridiculously increased super rates, or maybe somehow limits it where like you can't run shards, or I don't know, or maybe have like a rotating playlist, like one day you have to all use void supers, one day you have to all use arc, one day you have to all use solar, something kind of like prestige where you got like locked loadouts, in which case every class would have some of its advantages, right? Like Titan tends to have a lot of defensive things that would kind of stop supers and stuff on the void, and Titans have at least a thunder crash, which would be on par with some of the other types of supers that the other classes have. Like Warlocks got Nova Bombs, and then Solar Day would probably pretty much usually go to Hunters, but who knows? Like they might have folks that just want to do Golden Gun because they don't have Shards of Galnor. You never know. So that's just kind of like one idea. Another thing we need to really try and do is perhaps figure out a way, if like a class is winning indubitably like over and over, maybe have a program thing where that flag doesn't show it, right? Because like last year, a lot of folks were saying they were getting bummed out because they go to the tower and they see Titans are winning by a metric shit ton, like with the flags, like how they're laid out, and they're like, screw it, not even worth it, and so they either switched over to Titan or just didn't care. And I think we're kind of having maybe a similar kind of a thing, right? Like it's really annoying for me when I log in and I see that the Hunters have that flag still all the way up there, even though supposedly their medals are counting for less because they've been winning, and then the Warlocks and the Titans are flipping back and forth. They're flipping back and forth. Usually it seems to be whatever class loses the day wins the next day between the Warlocks and Titans because of that little increase you get. And so like I'm fine with that. That obviously in its theory is working as intended, because you're not just having the same class over and over losing every single day, which is the point that we're going for. But maybe if we had that flag or if there's some kind of a coding thing, like if a class wins, like, I don't know, 2 days in a row by some percentage, then the flag will just, to try and tease everyone else a little bit, might not go all the way up according to colors, so that way people might be, yeah, we might be able to pull this off. Because, like, right now, I already know folks that sign in, and they're like, well, I guess I'm just going to do the bare minimum I want today for like my triumphs, and then that's it. Because, like, what's the point? There's no way in the hell we'll be able to beat the Hunters. And so that's some kind of the feedbacks I have. Do you guys have other ideas? Let me know. I think it'd be cool to have like a 6v6v6 or 3v3v3, or to do something with it's tough with how many Hunters there are. I think the idea of trying to have limited where you can only play the one class was great, because last year we had people flipping over to Titan because they saw Titans are winning and people like to be on the winning side. I can't say I blame them. I'm super competitive myself, which is part of why this whole thing is driving me bonkers. So hopefully these are some decent ideas. I would love for you guys to share your thoughts to how to make the Guardian games more appealing to you in the future. Obviously, I hate this Eververse thing. I think it was so dumb that we got our Bright Dust capped. And for those that have 3 characters, like, really reduced how much we can get, and that once you do all the seasonal challenges, basically you're done. You can't get more Bright Dust, and I should have thought of this, but I honestly didn't even occur to me to try and save a ton of Bright Dust for the Guardian games. So, like, I was buying like the Anarchy ornaments and all that kinds of stuff that I could with Bright Dust throughout the cycle, including that armor set for Titans for this season, and I'm just plumb out. And I'm like, I don't like the transmog system they got. I might just not actually even worry about trying to buy it. I can't say I'm farming Bright Dust because I'm trying to be like anti-Eververse at this point, because like a lot of the really cool stuff is tied to Eververse, which is something else the games really needs. It needs to have more of these triumphs. Like, I kind of like having a triumph associated to one of the Guardian game sparrows. That was kind of a cool idea. I don't know why we can't get more of that kinds of stuff with these events, especially with these events, instead of having like all the really cool shit locked behind paywalls. Like, why can't we have some of the cool shit locked behind paywalls and the other stuff where you can go out and get it? So, like, instead of like being like 60% of the stuff is behind Eververse, maybe have it be like 20%, and you can even make it like the absolute coolest things, but at least most of the stuff is something that either drops randomly when you finish like the Titan strikes, because we got like those like class specific strikes from the tower. That could be a thing, like you have a random chance of one of those things dropping every time you complete a strike, or maybe be like, do 100 of those strikes in the Titan playlist and you get the armor ornaments or something. I don't know, just another idea. So you've got maybe like 3v3v3, most like you get gold, silver, or bronze depending upon your ranking. You turn those in. That could be a decent way to do medals. You could do something where it's just like total number of matches won between 3v3v3. You could do like 6v6v6, which I think would be a hoot, and you can bring back some of those giant Destiny 1 maps that have vehicles and stuff. And I think that's kind of like an easier-ish solution to try and do this whole thing. I'm sure the coding, though, is going to be difficult for all 3 classes to have it like match made separately and all that stuff. As well as just, trying to revamp Eververse. We got to figure out something. And I know these games are tough. Like, I try to run clan events fairly often, and it's really hard to find a system that even like half the people are okay with and don't have issues with, much less a giant community. So good luck to Bungie trying to figure this out. I'm really excited to see what you guys have to say about this event in the comment section. Like, are you enjoying it? Like, are you vested? Like, if you're not a hunter, like, are you like, what's the point? Are you like, yeah, I'm trying to do like 100 medals a day? Like, what are your guys' thoughts? Let me know. All right, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, as well as like the video and comment those things down below. And hope you guys have a great week and happy grinding, y'all.